Digital frames. A lot of sales of digital frames during the holidays. Michael Branch and I are going to spend a few minutes here talking to you a little bit about digital frames and some of the things that are happening, some of the primary benefits and features that we need to be aware of when we're talking to customers about digital frames. Really, if you think about it, digital frames have been a strong category for probably the last 3 years, I would say.
Yes, definitely.
And they're, we've got them in 7-Elevens, we've seen them in drugstores, hardware stores, coffee shops. Everybody tends to think that they can sell digital frames, but really, if you think about it and you look at the products that we have, Michael, it's made it, losing aspect ratios, very low res, poor quality, or color reproduction, small screens, and really aesthetically ugly products, to be quite honest with you. I've seen it in clothing stores and everything from, that I've listed. And really, if you look at what we have, I think we have a pretty good assortment of products that is quality, even down to the 3.5 by 5 that we advertise for as low as, $49 or $59. Okay. Some of the things that I know, you can hold me true here, make sure we don't lose anything. But I think the primary thing that you got to do when you're talking to a customer here is the same as you would do any frame. Okay. You want to know about the colors, how their house looks. Is there a color option? Are they interested in wood, or would they like to have something that's a little bit more contemporary? Okay.
Yeah, we want it to look good in their house.
Yep.
So if we're talking to them like a best friend, well, which color is going to look better with what you just?
Exactly. So really the aesthetics of the product, I think you got to understand the needs of the customer. I think you also need to understand about how many photos what kind of photos they want to display on there, what kind of camera they have, what kind of pictures do they take. Okay. And once you kind of figure that out, it really becomes, because there are memory card issues, there's compatibility issues with some of the products, that you want to make sure that you sell them the right product so when they get home and they put the card in there, it works.
Even file format issues. If they're shooting with TIFF or they're saving as a TIFF, or shooting with RAW, have a number of RAW, we got to know that, well, which frame can we offer?
Okay. And most of these are JPEG and MPEG, right? You can convert some RAW files, but you get really JPEG and MPEG is which most of these are formatted to carry, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right.
All of them will have JPEG and MPEG that are from the mid-level on up. Some of the entry levels have some problems with MPEGs, so you can't play your movies back at an entry level. But the mid-level going on up, your 10-inch frames on up, no problem with any kind of movie that you can have from any of the digital cameras we offer.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I bought an HD camcorder that has expandability onto an SD card, can I play that back on any of these frames?
Not all of them. There are some. There's the premium frame you can actually play back that because they play it in a different codec than the others.
Okay.
So that's one issue. It's like if it's high definition, the upper levels can handle it. So we're talking like
I think we're talking 349.
Yeah, 349, 269 on up. You could play some of that video back. When we're talking the 89, 129 area, no, we're not playing the high definition video that we recorded from either the Samsung or the Sony back. But in many instances, they usually come with software that makes it easier to change them into a different format.
But if I do video from my point shoot camera,
oh yeah, not a problem. None of them are going to have a problem with that.
Okay.
From the mid-level on up, you're not going to have a problem playing back any of the video that came from your Casio, your Nikon, your Canon, your Sony. It'll all play just fine.
Okay, very good. Okay, mid-level benefits. You talked to me a little bit about remote functionality. Most all of your media level have a remote. Okay, you talked about a number of styles and choices. We already covered that. Automatic slideshow with transitions. You can see some of the advertisements that we have on there. The 10-inch product is transitioning from one product to another, either sideways or starburst or whatever it does to transition. That's a pretty important benefit. And then we just talked about the MPEG movie. That really is the thing that kind of separates what we would call entry level versus your mid to higher end, right?
That's right. I mean, one thing is just to have pictures playing. But if there's that video of Junior, or of your daughter doing that great dance that she did first dance on stage, and you may not have access to the computer, somebody watching something on television, the very fact that you can actually put it into a frame to show, and it go right back to the pictures, especially the ones that actually have internal memory, which can go back to pictures you already stored or Wi-Fi enabled that can actually stream it through. That's an extreme advantage that we need to be aware of, so that if we hear that opportunity to show them the benefit, or relay the benefit, we got to be able to seize upon that.
Okay. So pretty much all of the 10-inch that we do give you what we would refer to as premium benefits, right?
You get the remote functionality, so you can, from any place in the room, you can decide what picture's playing, how fast it's playing, and what kind of transitions you get. You have the ability to play back video right away, so that's not an issue. You have even the ability to play back music if you want to. If you want to have your own music playing, overlaying with the transitions of the pictures, you can actually do that on your mid-level on up. Can't do that on.
If you have a small townhome or something, that might be something that'd be a nice deal to have.
That's right. You have a party and you just kind of have it kind of playing in the background. Works quite well.
Okay. Okay. Memorials, whatever, that'd be interesting to have. Okay. So, TIFF, RAW, bitmap support.
See, that's only just your big step up to premium ones. And we overlook that as as something, but some of the folks that we're selling are D80 customers on up. Those folks are maybe shooting in RAW almost exclusively and are only changing to JPEG just to share them. So they can actually, especially with the 269 piece, which is Wi-Fi enabled, we can actually stream some of those those images from your PC to the frame, and you don't even have to convert them, which is a big deal. So they're in RAW or in TIFF in the format they choose. They don't have to change them. With the other frames, you have to change them over. And especially that's another thing going back to the small frame. In many instances, you've actually got to shrink it down in order to actually have it displayed properly. So on the premium ones, not only do you not have to change the format of your image file, but you don't even have to worry about whether it's going to lose its aspect ratio or whether it's even right side up. If you've taken a vertical shot, is it going to show up right? It knows right away, which is pretty awesome. So you get some of those things on the premium piece, and so that's one of the things that you want to show the benefits of. It's like, you ask, hey, what kind of camera were you shooting when did you want to display these pictures? Oh, well, I have a D300. Ding. Well, you know what? This particular frame, you don't have to change. If you're shooting in RAW, you have to change anything. That's a big benefit. That definitely rises. Yes, it's a big price jump for maybe an $89.99 frame, but it's a benefit that they wouldn't have otherwise if we don't mention it.
Okay. All right. Justin was talking a little bit earlier about motion sensors. How do I know if one has a motion sensor?
Well, typically that's an easy one because you see the little tiny little hole right there, right in the bottom of the frame. So that lets you know right away. Number one, if you pass by, it's automatically going to turn itself on. Because that's the other thing that we find out over time. The last 3 years, we're talking about the frames. We're selling frames like crazy. Everybody's selling frames. Yeah. The biggest problem is screen burnout.
The screen just wears out.
Exactly. So it just wears out completely. And even if you manage to get it back on, the colors are also burned out. Kind of like the problem with plasma, with that same pictures there, it also gets burned in. Yeah. So you get some of those issues with the older frames. Now with the sensors, not only it stretches the life out of the frame, but it also doesn't waste any power because it has to be plugged in the whole time. So now it'll shut off if it can't sense there's anything around. It'll shut itself off. The moment you come around, you sit at your desk or you sit at your dinner table or you sit at the sofa, it can detect people around, comes right on right away. Doesn't miss a beat. And the higher level you go, the faster it operates, and even the variety of pictures are shown because it may just change the picture for you automatically when you pass by. That's another thing that the upper level sensor will do. It'll change pictures as you move.
Okay.
Kind of like the Bill Gates thing. You can be at Bill Gates' house and you pass by the
Smart
wall.
house,
But,
right. I have my Hewlett Packard hooked into my lights, my air conditioner, my television, everything. I can control everything in my house pretty much from my Hewlett Packard computer, which is kind of slick.
And you can win Trent's house if you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You could. I'm actually selling it, so if you're interested. Okay.
That's the whole idea there, is that when you hear things like, I've got a lot of pictures I've been shooting a while, those are the kind of features that are going to turn that customer on. Being able to change pictures on a whim without them having to do anything. Being able to send their pictures wireless over to the unit. Being able not to have to change formats. Those things are huge benefits. And the people don't know the benefits if they're sitting on a shelf and no one says it.
No, I have a question too. Why in today's world we're selling 19-inch and 32-inch, and you can spend $4.99 for a nice. I mean, I've even seen them as low as $248 for 720p, screens, monitor TV type stuff. Who's going to buy one of them? I mean, why would you want one of these? Why would you not want to just buy a TV versus buying one of these?
Because you want something dedicated. You know, there are customers that want something dedicated. However, you know, that is also a transition point to get there.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you find that the price point is high enough to where, you know what, have you considered just maybe having a second television? That could go either way.
Yeah.
So, in my humble opinion, either we're looking at the customer who wants to have something dedicated aside from having to plug the stuff into the television, or we actually take them to the television and show them that, hey, we can do some of the
You
same
know what?
things.
The reason I brought that up is I was in North Carolina, and I was in a store. A gentleman walked in, was looking at digital frames, and he talked to me about what he wanted to do was putting on a wall, and he was doing it for recognition, employee recognition. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So he was going to have their pictures up there going through it, and we were having this conversation, and I asked him about where was he placing it, you know, because, you know, you don't want to buy a 5x7 or a 3x5 if you're going to place it in a corner hallway and you're going to be 20 feet away because you can't see it. Okay?
These frames are only but so big.
Right. So you want to talk about where they're going to place it, and you know, if it's in an office corner on a desk where you're going to be close enough where the smaller screen would benefit, you know, work adequately. But if you're going to use it as a display or a centerpiece in, you know, a corner cocktail table or whatever part of your house or on a wall, then size does become a factor. And it is a perfect opportunity to ask them, have you considered owning it or getting a TV set, okay, and having the ability to do that, put your pictures on DVD or whatever and play them back through that. There is a transition there, and I think we need to be aware of that. So, you know, those stores that are getting TVs, you might wind up one day selling a TV when you're showing a digital camera, because it happened to me. I did it, you know. He started off here, he didn't realize what he could get for $399, and next thing you know, he walked out of the store with a television. Okay?
There you go.
So, big deal. Is there anything else you think we've missed that we need to, again, display is critical, having it out, making sure that it's priced, which in this particular store it's not, okay? Making sure that we have a good demonstration of photographs on it. In this particular one, we have a lot of advertisements, but it's important to have photographs on it.
Well, my opinion is that one of the easiest things is to take the pictures you just showed. If you're demonstrating a digital SLR, one of the easiest things is take that card out and put it in one of the frames.
And show them how it works.
And I personally, you know, as far as getting transition questions, well, how do you show your pictures? How do you show off your pictures? And, you know, they may say, well, I usually don't. I just have them on a computer. Well, this is a great way of not having to worry about software or anything like that, and you can just display them right away with one of these.
If you got any of those old 512 or 256 cards in your store, it makes a great way to sell some. You can sell some of those with those. I think the prices are down to $9 or $10 now. So it's a nice way to sell some of those with digital frames. Well, I think we covered it pretty well. Hopefully, you know, our goal has been, you know, typically we advertise $59 and $69 digital frames, and we sell a lot of what we advertise. But we really need to work on talking about the quality of the product and what you're going to do with it, understanding that, talking about some of these benefits that Michael just kind of went through with us. And I think what we can wind up doing is selling a lot better digital frames and maybe helping ourselves in TVs.
That's right. It's no different from going the compact to a digital SLR. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Going from entry-level frame to a better frame that's going to benefit the customer.
Okay. Well, all right. Thanks.
Thank you.